meeting of the St. Augustine Port Waterway and Beach District. Please put your phones on the vibrator silent, please. All rise for the
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Something we're going to change today is the roll call. We have a few new commissioners. Commissioner Sandy Flowers. I'll go right, Sandy. And Commissioner Matt Brown. And these guys you probably know. I'm Barry Benjamin. Now, roll call.
Okay. Chairman Benjamin.
Here.
Commissioner Rivers.
Here.
Commissioner Way.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Flowers.
Here.
Okay, up to the Secretary and Treasurer's report.
Okay, as of pretty much now, the St. Augustine, the city police law enforcement overtime that we committed $8,000 for the year, which ends in September, we have spent $1,120. The Sheriff's Department, the St. Thomas County Sheriff's Department overtime, we have spent $820 of the $20,000 that was budgeted. For the derelict boats, we budgeted pretty much approximately $14,000. We have paid out $9,000 for derelict boats. The marine electronics for the St. Thomas County Sheriff that we agreed to last year, we paid out the $12,335. In the Florida State Board of Administration Fund A, that has $22,336 as of October 31st. In our operating account, we have $163,310, and in our money market account, $1,685,000. I had to take out $200,000 and transfer it into the operating account to cover the connectivity, to pay for the seawall connectivity that we had agreed on from the prior year. So I took it out of our reserve because we didn't have enough in our operating account. So that covered that. We haven't gotten haven't had to pay for the, I guess it's the regatta lights. We haven't gotten that in yet. And in Summer Haven, we have an account balance of approximately $317,000. I did just pay out to Turnbull, and I think that includes it. So we should be okay with that. And I believe that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, I'm sorry. And our tax for we budgeted for this new tax year starting in October 1st for our revenues from our trim. Our budgeted amount was $526,341, and to date we have received $9,000. Although I did just get a check for $50,000 for tax revenue, so that's not shown on here, but it did just come in. So that's automatically deposited into the account. So that's, any questions?
So what's the total taxes received today?
Taxes received today, if you want to include the $50,000 that I haven't, actually I have it $50,305 plus the 9, so it's $59,000.
Okay, approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on September 11th. Any additions, corrections?
I move approval.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Excuse me.
Which minutes were you doing?
September 11th.
Regular meeting.
Yes. And now we're going to do the October 2nd.
No, do the first public hearing for September 11th.
Okay. All right. Minutes of the first public hearing on September 11th, 2018. Any corrections, additions? And make a move that we approve those minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we are.
October 2nd, final public hearing.
Final public hearing held on October October 2nd, 2018, and the October 16th regular meeting. We're going to do both if there are any corrections or anything. No corrections? Okay. Make a motion we approve the minutes. All in favor? No. Okay, engineering report.
And the Silverhead River Restoration Project should be up and running again after Thanksgiving. Turnbull Environmental Contractor has been outside the last couple of weeks. Using pipeline for the dredge. They've had an excavator out there doing a little bit of digging, but yeah, after the holidays, things will get going again. That's it.
That's it. Okay. Any questions from the engineer? Okay. Now we're up to old business. Moving right along. Who's the Jim Piggott, City of St. Augustine?
Jim Piggott, City of St. Augustine. Welcome to the new commissioners. If you remember the last commission meeting, we were talking about the police boat that the city currently owns, and you requested me to send an email out detailing out other information. I think at least hopefully you all got a copy of it. Just to let you know that the police boat in the past year or two has been out of the water about 40–45% of the time. If you have any specific questions, Commander Cuthbert our Assistant Police Chief Cuthbert is here. Can answer any questions. I know he told me that I think it was last month we spent over $4,000 in maintenance on it. Some of the history, if you remember, we originally had a fine grant that was approved for not only the police boat fine grant was 66 or 50/50 match, 60,000 here, 60,000 for the fine district, and then we also had 90,000 for kayak launch and 90,000 for fine as well. Right after that, Hurricane Irma hit, and Armada was badly destroyed along with our fueling dock. And we wanted to get our fueling dock up and operational, and the port was so kind to give us that $150,000 for those two projects to get our fueling station back up and running. Since then, we got it up and running after we received that money in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and we still have these two approved fine grants. The city has decided that we'll take on the $90,000 for the kayak launch, and we're asking you again for the $60,000 for the police boat that was originally approved, if you so see fit. And just also let you know that at the city marina, we also give free dockage to the sheriff's office, to our police department, to FWC, to our fire department. And we also allow some training from, I can't remember the name of the federal boat yard at the end of Riparian Street. Customers, they do training in our area there as well. So that's the information. If you have any other questions, you have the email that we sent out. We surely and I can't say that the boat's going to cost us $120,000. After talking to Commander Fox, he seems that's really high. We were actually looking at a cheaper boat, which I talked to Commissioner Benjamin about, which after further look, it really wasn't in good shape, and it was built like a tank. It was slow. It wasn't the type of boat that they would need with their use. So that's our pitch for you.
So you just want 60 grand?
Just 60 grand for that again.
Any discussion or anything?
I have a question. Can we find out what kind of boat costs $60,000? And what exactly kind of boats we're going to find?
Well, I can let.
Actually, I don't have that information.
Yeah. I know our fire department bought a boat that was $180,000.
Right.
The law enforcement boats come pretty expensive. We're looking probably around $100,000 talking to Commander Fox.
Is there a grant application or anything so that we can have all the data that can be stored? Can we trace this money if we don't know what kind of boat?
Yeah, we would provide an invoice or receipt of the boat that we would like to purchase.
What was the boat that you guys had broken? Were you guys looking at a lawsuit later, or was that the sheriff's department?
I think that was
down to South Florida or something.
Sheriff's Department. We're not looking for a boat that's going to go out in the ocean, just something that's going to get around to our area, especially on the packed weekends in the summertime and so on.
So what boat do you have now? What is it?
Anthony?
I'm sorry.
Any questions? What kind of boat do you have now? You're not gonna look at? I know it's got the rubber sidings.
Right, it's originally inflatable. I can't remember exactly the brand name of it. Yeah, it does have a feature in the front where the valve breaks, opens down. The ramp.
Which it doesn't work.
It doesn't work anymore. It has to have that sealed up shut.
And not to be gory or anything, but that ramp has come in handy when the police department had to pull bodies out of the water, so on and so forth.
Well, before you purchase the boat, you can identify it, run it by us.
Sure, well, the maximum is 60,000, and we'll come back with the final price for the bid. Because the find already agreed for the matching whatever it is, so it'll be 50-50 split.
And Fine has been prepared to give that 60 as well.
Yeah, that's already been approved. That's been approved over a year ago.
Yeah, since I heard Fine mention Coral Flow, Florida Inland Navigation District, yes, sir, Commissioner Way, that they submitted a grant application, and it was approved for up to $60,000. And the way Fine grants work is, we only actually disperse that money when the boat's actually purchased, and they submit documentation as to the type of boat, specifications, and so forth. Because, and the reason for that is, when we first started providing funding for law enforcement vessels, primarily in South Florida, we had some folks down there buying basically 32-foot center console offshore boats. And the feeling of the commission was that we didn't want to fund stuff that was built to go offshore. We wanted to fund boats that were going to be used to be in the intercoastal waterways. So that's
So if you buy a boat for 100 grand, that we're gonna get 50 and Fine's gonna get 50?
Correct.
60.
If it's 100 grand,
Yeah, we're gonna do this 50-50.
Yes, correct.
Can I ask a question? The current boat that you have now, wasn't it donated or wasn't it received somehow through the Norco fund? It was.
I think that was the fire department's boat.
Was
That was received, and that one is no longer in use.
Is there any way that we could get a good go-fast boat from the Norco people in the state, just like the fire?
I know Commander Fox has been looking. As a matter of fact, I share one boat with Commissioner Barry Benjamin, and that boat was again built like a tank. It was very old. It was probably 20 years old, and it wasn't very quick. And it wouldn't even work on our lift. So we'd be spending a lot of money repainting the bottoms and everything.
So whatever boat you buy is gonna have to fit on that lift at the same marina?
Yeah, we don't want a big boat.
That's what I'm saying, that's 100,000 is just kind of blowing my mind. I do know a little bit about boat costs. That's a huge engine you're buying, or multiple engines, and my concern is if we don't need to go offshore, we have a fire. We have a fire boat, FWC multiple boats, a sheriff boat, and you're not going offshore. I'm just, how much more boat than what we have right now, because the fiberglass part of the boat we have now,
Well, first of all,
shouldn't be a problem.
I haven't set a price, Commissioner. The grant itself is up to $60,000. So the boat could be as much as 120. We don't expect to spend that much for the boat. I can't give you a price because we haven't identified one yet.
What's the weight capacity, 10K, on your lift?
About that, I think it's that.
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the $60,000 match for a $60,000 fine.
And again, I don't think it's gonna be that much, so.
I second the motion. Yeah, we need a boat, dependable boat, boats will last 15, 20 years.
Right.
Engines, replace engines every 7 or 8 years. I think it's a worthwhile investment. Any discussion?
I have no questions, Angie.
Okay.
Take a roll.
Roll call?
Roll call vote.
Yeah, roll call.
Commissioner Way,
Yes.
Commissioner Rivers,
Yes?
Chairman Benjamin,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Flowers.
Yes. Can I qualify that as long as there's documentation behind it to follow up? I want to be able to follow that money to the city. Okay.
What happens to the old boats?
We'll probably list that on government deals, which is where we sell a lot of our old stuff. We even sold some expired 35 millimeter film good deals. People will buy anything on that website.
Where does the money go then after the auction off that rate?
That would go into the general fund for the police department. We don't expect to get very much at all. It's not like an auction like you and I would know an auction. It goes on a website and people bid on it through the website.
GovDeals.com?
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, Dave?
I do have the next thing on the agenda too. Right. As you remember, I mentioned during the budget process and 2 meetings ago, the last meeting, I bring back being a local. I realize I'm like 2 months early. Normally this comes out in January, but since it's the same amount we've been asking for the last 9 years. For the dredging assault run, your attorney has already reviewed it, hasn't changed. So I have 3 copies. When it's all executed, signed by you all, by us, you'll get an original copy, we'll get an original copy, we'll file an original copy. So I think this needs to come to a final, I mean, you already gave a nod, but I'll ask your attorney if this needs.
Sure, it needs to be approved.
What was the amount?
It was $50,000 from you, $150,000 from the fine.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, we'll leave that money on the table.
Is that going to be for this fiscal year?
This will be, no, this would be, we're applying for this coming year, so it'll be for next year.
Okay, so the 60,000 is going to be for this
Yes.
year, right?
Yeah.
But the dredging will be for next fiscal year.
Right. We're going to combine this dredging with the other dredging.
And how much is this contract?
This is 50.
It's already been approved by fine. So-
No, this has not been approved by time yet. We're applying for, this is our new application.
I'm not sure exactly what about the vote on it. Did you say dredging of Salt Run?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's 11-foot dredging for the entire channel of Salt Run all the way up to the boat ramp?
This would only be maintenance dredging, it's not the entire channel. We did the entire channel like 10 years ago, and this has been maintenance dredging every year because it's silts in so much every other year when we dredge. So basically what we do, right, when we go to Tail Engineering, they do a report that tells us what areas need to be dredged, and we dredge these bad spots.
And that's all the way up to the boat ramp?
In the channel.
In the channel, but to the
boat ramp,
to
yeah,
the ramp.
to the boat ramp.
You know, the thing about 11 feet to the boat ramp is you can't put a boat in that ramp that needs even 6 feet of draft. And you can't, and all the mooring balls over there are in certainly no more than 6 feet. So it's a lot of depth up to the boat ramp for vessels that don't need it.
There's tens of thousands of vessels a year that use that boat ramp.
Yes, sir, I know. There's 12 parking places there for trailers, and you cannot put a boat in that ramp that can draw. I mean, I suppose you could launch a small sailboat there that could draw maybe, a 30-foot boat usually doesn't draw more than 5 feet. That's a 30-foot sail keel boat. So my concern is that we're willing to do 11 feet up to a little boat ramp where you can't put in a deep boat. But, we really need the footage over in our commercial channel to San Sebastian. That's my concern, is that we're diverting this money to knock down humps.
Well,
We've got a marina there, and we want people to be able to get to that too. But my concern is that this seems to be to a public boat ramp that doesn't need that kind of depth.
Well, it's still in quite a bit every year.
It does.
And if we want to do San Sebastian, we can come back and apply for a fine grant for San Sebastian. I understand that's a federal channel.
I understand it's a federal channel, but Mr. Blow would talk to us about, my concern is I've talked to 3,000 people that do not understand why we have less water in our commercial channel than we have up to the conch house and a boat ramp that can't even use that depth. Maybe you could talk to us, because we're just diverting so much money.
I've unfortunately been involved for probably, I'm afraid to 15-something plus years. And we've actually funded dredging in the San Sebastian River, and in coordination with Chairman Benjamin and being one of the stakeholders in there. The San Sebastian is actually in pretty good shape. When we did dredge it, we primarily concentrated on the wherever the channel turns.
Yeah.
As of right now, unless you guys have heard from some stakeholders, no one's complaining.
I'll get emails to you from the
Okay,
state.
we'd love to hear it.
Oh, I will, I promise.
The San Sebastian is the only true working waterfront in St. Johns County, so it's always been a major focus.
Sir, there's been nothing but complaints, the channel's too small, like you can just turn on the radio and you can hear people telling, when Hidden Harbor was still open, I'm on the bottom, I'm turning around, I'm not coming to the boatyard, I've just hit. Or I've hit bottom inside the channel, and it's because the edge of the channel hasn't, not a bump. It's
never when we dredged it before, it was usually wherever we had turns where we were having issues. And actually, the only spot that we actually had dredged all the way across the channel was in front of Oyster Creek. The rest of the spots were basically encroaching the places where you have a turn and would be encroaching the channel. But as I say, that is the working waterfront for St. Johns County. So we are very interested in that. So any input from primarily the state, we kind of depend on the.
Who do you describe the stakeholders? The businesses out there or folks?
That's generally who, like for instance.
Because I talked to them and I'm not sure, like I said, why we have only 10 feet, for example, just give you an example, when the dredging room was here some years ago, a couple years ago, they got brand new dredge, it was great, but they wanted to pull off their generators. And I called Jimmy Carlos over there at SAMC, and they wanted to come, but he looked at me and he goes, Sam, do you think I can get up that creek? I said, yes, and he started to laugh. We didn't get the business, and that happens over and over and over again.
We'd love to hear.
Yes, sir. I just have nothing but complaints about I'm bumping, the channel is falling in, and we don't understand why we can keep 11 feet to a boat ramp. I understand thousands of boats go in, but there's only 12 parking
Just
places.
sort of shed some light on Salt Run. Actually, I live in Salt Run, and so I'm pretty familiar with it. The Lighthouse Park boat ramp is the only boat ramp the city of St. Augustine has. It's also a boat ramp that the marine contractors use, as well as our dredge contractors when they're working in this area. The other benefit, the reason Fine and the Corps is interested in that channel was when we dredged the intercoastal waterway at the intersection of the inlet, which is an area we have to dredge every 3 to 5 years. Our discharge line runs down Salt Run all the way to the south end and it pops over the dune and mirrors the beach there. So we're very interested in making sure that whole channel stays functional. So that's one reason it's one of the few grants that it's a 75% grant, not a 50%.
So we put more time into that because of the pipe that runs down there?
Well, it's a reason that Fine and the Corps is interested in, primarily Fine, is not only is it a public access waterway that has public access to the boat ramp, as well as the Conkhouse Marina, as well as the marine field, as well as Anastasia State Park, and the yacht club, but also it happens to be a pipeline route for us as well.
It's super important to keep it open. I totally agree. I would never try to keep it from that. But I would just ask that you please send some attention to our commercial river because it's costing us a fortune. And most importantly, the big boats that want to get that cheap fuel up there at Marine Supply cannot get it, and those are $8,000 fuel sales. I know the city wants those. I want the city to have them too. I just think we can have it both ways. We can have enough boats coming in here to keep everybody busy, not just the city fuel.
Well, I'd love to hear from Mr. Poley. I've talked to him in the past as far as any issues he has with the channel. So,
I'll be able to, I'll get to the emails. Yes.
Because we really would like to hear from primarily the repair facilities, the boat yards, because literally that is the only.
It's our lifeblood.
Working.
And I cannot tell you how at low tide, because we don't have 10 feet at low tide in our commercial river.
I just wanted to shed some light, excuse me.
Okay. So we're up to decide whether or not we're going to approve the grant for Salt Run, $50,000, with fines matching up to $150,000. Any discussion on this? I think we talked about it a few months ago.
I think it's kind of fun, but if their stuff needs to be in the same Sebastian, we should look at it. Has Daryl Foley ever contacted you guys? Town spotters? No?
Have you ever talked to them? Did you call them up?
Yeah, if
I mean,
they,
I'll be glad to talk to them for you, because, I mean, this is what I hear. I talk to Charlie that runs the, I don't talk to Mr. Foley, but I talk to his manager. And there's been a big discussion about how come the big boats can't get out there, and he seems to know exactly how come. I think one of them went out here because he's frustrated. I talked to over 3,000 frustrated people who do not think this board is serving the needs of the people that actually pay the tax. Like I said on my Facebook, Lincolnville cannot even get into water. Like Mr. Fine said, the only city boat ramp is over the bridge and in the middle of somebody's neighborhood. The board helped that neighborhood. They, by the way, have the biggest tourist attraction right there too, being the lighthouse. With 12 parking places, I can only imagine what it's like. And now the county's talking about, we're going to approve all that before we make new boat ramps.
Mr. Chairman, is there a motion on the floor?
There's a motion on the floor to approve it. I'd like to make a motion that we do approve the $50,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
And one abstention.
thank you, we're not looking into the test.
And I'm not against keeping every single marina channel, every channel open, every local channel. I just need to, we need to have priorities.
Yeah. New business. Mr. Rivers, FASP workshop.
Right, on October the 26th, I represented the Port Board in Sarasota, a meeting of the Farm Association Special District. A few junior members, we belong to FASD, Farm Association Special District. It'd be really interesting to go to their website, and see what their activities are. I was mainly concentrating on the workshop on the afternoon. It's an education outreach program where they talked about bills and Congress, how they're written, and how we approach our Congress people, or especially our state legislators, on get legislation passed. The reason we're really interested in this is because several years ago, I proposed that we change the Port District to include the entire county, because probably more than 50% of people who use our facilities, waterways, Salt Run, and so forth, come from other areas. And another real reason is because we've had several opportunities to help the people in Summer Haven, and more recently, people in the North Beach areas have had that terrible erosion. And quite frankly, we need the extra money to help these areas. And I went up and talked to one of the lawyers. The people were Laura Donaldson from the Chief Attorney, Chris Lyon, who's I believe, what do you call it? Person who lobbyists. And anyway, I went up and talked to the attorney, and I asked, what would be the chances, and I explained, that we're chartered, and it defines the district, what would be the chances of us doing this? And he thought, after hearing it, that it would be good if we would approach our legislators. The legislatures changed a couple of years ago. They were the leaders of sort of anti-special district. Wouldn't give their law special districts. But it's changed somewhat now, and he feels that we may have an opportunity. About a week ago, I saw Cindy Stevenson in person, and I asked her, what the procedure should be. And of course, they're having a legislative workshop, not a workshop, a hearing, I believe sometime the 1st of December, where Senator Hudson, Paul Renner, and Cindy Stevenson will all be at the county building downtown, the county administration building, to hold a workshop for anybody who wants to go in and present anything. So they said that we have until the 30th of this month to present material to them to try to get them to change our district boundary. So I would like to do that, and I'd like to do that, and it was a blessing of the Lord. So that I can say that when I go and speak before the public hearing.
The kind of proposal would be countywide,
Yes,
not Carmen, just the whole county.
yes.
And would the boundary change be the only legislative change you would be proposing?
But the old boundary would be extended.
Right, I'm just asking, you would only be asking to change the boundaries, not changing the border.
No.
So it's an addition to what we already have?
Yes.
Just the rest of the county?
Yes, yes.
I see no problem. I think it's good.
Yeah.
All in favor? Tom, go.
Aye.
Okay.
Do that, Tom. All right, now, still under new business.
I have a motion I'd like to make.
Sure, go ahead.
Jerry Dixon was a member of this board for 20 years. He came on in 1998, and he served us, I think, very well. And I believe that he deserves some kind of special recognition. I would like the board to agree to buy some kind of a plaque. At least could pick it up. And the wording, would just be that we honor your 20 years of service to Port Waterway Beach Commission. And it would be to the Honorable Jerry Dixon. So I move that we do this.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass. Lisa, you can take care of that?
Sure.
I'm trying to get
Bears, oh my.
Okay, now. You're okay, Tom? That's it?
That's it.
Okay, all right. I'd like to make a motion that Tom's the next senior member on the board that we nominate him for
Co-chairman,
vice
chairman.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Sorry, for that.
One
Besides being
abstain.
dissenting.
You're okay. You're abstaining or?
I'm dissenting.
Dissenting, okay.
Roll call?
Commissioner Way,
Yes.
Commissioner Rivers,
Yes.
well, you can't vote. Commissioner Benjamin,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Flowers.
No.
All right. You're vice chair.
You get a rusty big lesson.
Okay. Government representatives, that's usually law enforcement. Any law enforcement members here that would like to speak? What's in the column? Who's first?
How you guys doing? Teddy Meyer, St. John's County Parks and Recreation. I have a request, we were here last month. Before that, I'm just gonna hand that for you guys. We can talk about it. Congratulations on that. So back in September, Sydney Lynn lied us there too, Beach Services. Kind of working on a transition. She'll be taking over at some stage, but so back in September we came in, took the application, kind of put it together and turned it into you guys, and then the feedback that we received at that meeting was to come back in September with a more detailed approach of what we were looking for. In the meantime, we identified a couple different projects. Palmetto was one, Milan was an ongoing project, Doug Crane is another one. And so we took the opportunity after the last meeting, the feedback we got, to put together a more detailed scope of exactly what we've looked to request for improvements to Doug Crane, obviously, in the 4th district. And just a little bit of background on that is that at our June 19th BSCC meeting, they directed our staff to look at expanding boat ramp facilities, research new locations, and grants and funding. There's a TBC opportunity in the future as well. With that direction, staff's initiated a feasibility study and identified Doug Crane as one of the top priorities. Working with Kinley Horn and Associates, which is looking to identify ways to improve our current boat ramps and possible expansion sites. That's a little bit more farther down the road. And then obviously all cost estimates will be final until construction is complete. And funding is subject to board approval, as you probably have. Sorry. So the improvements to Doug Crane were the 2 aluminum gangways and 2 floating docks, and then expansion of the overflow parking area. The cost estimate there is from our county engineer based on a project we did at the end of last fiscal year at the Riverdale boat ramp. So we actually did one, which was $50,000. One aluminum gangway and repaired one floating dock. And then the estimated design from Gulfstream for permitting expansion of the boat ramp launching facility and further expansion of parking, as you can kind of continue to read, is $40,000. What we're requesting from you guys, your district, is $70,000, essentially half the cost, with a match from FEBIT reserves. As you can see, it would require board action. The money is currently available. This isn't a project that would need, the funds are ready to go. So, and we, as an identification issue, we're pretty much that and Palmetto are the ones that are ready to fast track. So, again, the reason why we're here. And I can make a note, after last meeting, myself and Sydney with the boat ramp transition had an opportunity to sit down with Carl for quite some time to kind of bring him up to speed of where we are as a department with boat ramp expansion and boat ramp improvements.
What happened with the charging people fees to use the current boat ramp? Is that the table up there decided?
So that's a good question. So we had a boat ramp workshop about a month ago, and we just closed the boat ramp survey actually yesterday or today. We had 1,100 applicants that did a survey, over 700 comments, which we're actually sifting through right now. Thankfully I'm not, but we have other people working on that. So the workshop, I think, probably got a little bit of a bad rap in the sense that it was something that we put out to the public to get feedback from, and then take that to the board and see if they wanted to do that. They haven't made a decision either way. We proposed a $20 fee, we proposed a $50 fee based on budgeting in the budget office. But it was simply to get feedback, We had 2 commissioners there. It was a very, very insightful meeting, and then the survey went out after. So the fee discussion is ongoing. There's an RFP going out for off-beach parking and the boat ramps, so we've got to tie everything in together. And that, I think, will come, I think it's mid-December, I think it's due back, as far as what companies are going to bid on it.
So we don't know mid-December if they will.
We'll have a better idea, yeah, on who comes back with bids and things like that.
So we won't know until December whether they're going to start charging people to use the boat ramps.
That's correct. And again, that's board action. That's board action, and we went out and looked to get the information.
Just one last question,
Sure.
I promise. In the September meeting, you came and requested $30,000 for this same exact project, and now it's $70,000.
That's
so
correct.
I don't understand.
Well, at the September meeting, when I was here, they didn't have a record of the actual budget. So while that doesn't change how much we're requesting, we're looking to make the improvements now. So we have the potential, we just, honestly, maybe our guesstimates weren't the right place, or...
Because it's over double. It over doubled in 1 month, and it doesn't look like the project's changed at all, so it's...
Well, we also had an opportunity for TBC funding, which can take a little bit longer to get. So that was another third of what we were kind of figuring into. 2022. So I'm not sure how that was reflected in the previous request, but
Can I ask you one question about the Derelict expansion of the overflow parking area? As, again, that is right up against the neighborhood down
Sure.
there. You know, doing just about anything to our current boat ramps is only going to do so much. We need
Sure.
more access points, and there is public property in which to use that already. So my question is, did anybody ask the people that live around there if it's okay with them if you expanded the overflow parking in the neighborhood?
yeah, well, that's a good question. We actually have an ongoing conversation with the St. Augustine South HOA. And that piece is actually part of the Short Drive Park. So through what we're doing at Royal Road Park and what we're doing at Doug Crane improvements, that was an initial question to them. There are some of the locals that live along the road that are dissenting, but the overall group that lives there, from our perspective of the representatives from the HOA and their constituents, they're very much in favor of a small incremental change, not the whole space, but a small incremental change. The other thing that we have to do there with the planning from Gulfstream is redesign the parking lot in the first place. So with the parking lot redesign, the expansion doesn't have to be as big. Because right now, there's current millings, and there's 2 handicap spots.
So Gulfstream wants $40,000 to redesign a rock parking lot.
No, that includes a pavilion, that includes the areas near the boat ramp, and then possible expansion of the boat ramp, like doubling it.
That's everything.
Yes. It's not just a parking lot. That's a
So
small.
that's putting in 2 gangways, 2 new floating docks.
That's beside Gulfstream, that's outside of Gulfstream.
Okay.
So the Gulfstream it's an entire project, but Gulfstream is a piece of the long term, whereas the gangways and the floating docks are already doing it now. There's no Gulfstream involved.
Well, I hate to say it, I still think it's just a little too ambiguous, because, $70,000 is a lot of money for us. And I still don't quite understand, we don't really have permission from the neighbors to increase the parking. I don't know if these are just estimated, estimated $100,000, estimated $40,000. And then, if you want us to give up, we need to know a little bit more concrete, what it's gonna cost to do this job. And do you already have your permission, has everybody signed off on it with regard to the neighbors? That's my concerns with it. I mean, I don't know if it's discussing the board, anybody else have any other questions, concerns, or anything? Chris?
No, I agree with you that it's a little fuzzy.
I hate to say it, but just need to get more concrete on it, tell us exactly what it's going to be, not estimated.
Do you guys need plans?
There was just
Drawings?
Yeah, we want to see plans,
Schematics?
drawings, yeah.
CADs?
Yeah. I for one would, I'm sure the rest
I
of
would
the
love to have that and have it for the records.
Sure.
Even a line item on the cost of the stuff, the floating docks, gangways. And that would make it easier for us to sort through it, I can assure you that.
We're not against it, we're not for it yet. So, we just need a little more information.
My question would be, if we're gonna give you the money, and it's a lot of money, like Mr. Benjamin says, it seems like if you took that same amount of money, you could get a whole lot more boats parked with a few more brand new entry places, new landings, new boat ramps, all together on a currently owned public property, and they can take where some of it's at. You're gonna get a lot more done with that money putting in new ramps. I'm not saying they don't need to be upgraded or fixed if the hurricane did something, but that's a lot of money just for upgrading. Now, how many additional trailer parking places are you getting for the money?
I mean, I don't have the answer on the idea. So would you say the overall 140 would be better? No, I'm just asking for clarification for the notes. The 140 would be better served at a new facility or a new purchase of a land for a new boat ramp?
I just want to tell you what everybody's telling me.
Okay.
And I've spoken to over 3,000 people.
Okay.
I'm talking, spoken to them. They just want to get into the river. Here's what happens. Lord, you come in from Elton and see our district is way out there. All those people over there paying money, and they get to where? The one sitting spot, you got 12 places. Two things happen. Those trailers are just going around that neighborhood with no place to park because there's only 12 places. So then they're headed over to another place. So we could do, you could go over to.
In Doug Grant?
Okay, so right, well, they've got to go somewhere if they're gonna get in,
Yeah.
and, if they line up, they're all, I guess they're already doing work on well, that's a county, boat ramp over there.
There's Shore Drive and then there's Doug Grant.
Right,
So,
we just do not have enough boat ramps for everybody here has a boat. And they can't get into the water, and Lord of mercy, if you're not right here to get on there early, I don't know what to do.
And I think just for our clarification purposes, that's kind of what we've done with Kimberly Horn recently, and trying to look at possible expansion sites. One of the reasons we looked at Doug Grant as a possible expansion site because it's a lot easier to expand a current boat ramp than go purchase land for $2 or $3 million and then put another $500,000 into it. So I think that's where we're going, just for clarification purposes for you guys. So, but that's great. I'll get with Luis and we can get a standing reservation for next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Government representatives.
Chair, Carl Wood, Florida Inland Navigation District, just wanted to touch base with you on a couple of things. As far as, just to bring the new commissioners up to date, we had some silting or shoaling caused by Hurricane Irma in the Intercoastal Waterway. And the way FINE works, FINE is a state agency, it's a special taxing district, and our district covers the 12 counties from Georgia on the east coast of Florida down to Miami-Dade. Our partner is the Army Corps of Engineers, and together we maintain the Intercoastal Waterway. And basically a project that I've briefed the board on before has to do with some maintenance in the Intercoastal here in St. Johns County. Hurricane Irma caused some shoaling both at the intersection of the Intercoastal Waterway at the St. Augustine Inlet and also down at the Matanzas Inlet. Actually, those two spots are one of the most frequently dredged spots on the Intercoastal Waterway on the east coast of Florida. Typically, where we do most of our maintenance dredging is where you have an ocean inlet intersecting with the Intercoastal Waterway. But at any rate, just to brief you on a project coming up, the Corps was successful, or I should say that Congress provided emergency funding to address hurricane impacts in the waterway. Two impacts in St. Johns County were at the inlet, where we got an additional 30,000 cubic yards deposited by Hurricane Irma, and then down at Matanzas, it was about 50,000 cubic yards. So the Corps has a project in the works to remove that material up here at the St. Augustine Inlet. That material will be placed in Anastasia State Park. Down at Matanzas, it will be placed on the beach there at Summer Haven, south of the Matanzas Inlet. So, just to update you on where that is, the Corps plans to, well, first off, those two locations will be combined into one contract. So one contractor will do the work. And they plan to advertise that project for bid in March of 2019 and probably awarded in May of 2019, and then the actual work will be done between May and no later than October of 2019. So we had discussed earlier, particularly about Summer Haven, where to place the sand, because you probably are familiar with there's a severe erosion issue down there between marine land and the Matanzas Inlet. And of course, you know, this board's been very involved in restoring the Summer Haven River. So in coordination with all that, this 50,000 yards, which in the big scheme of things is not a lot of material, a dredging project. But anyway, we're gonna place that on the beach from, and these are monuments that I'm gonna refer to now, from R204 going south. I think the Kansas people may talk to you about, they'd like to make sure that there's enough flexibility to place material in the future north of that location. But at any rate, that's the current plan, is to place material from R204 going south. So we've got that project coming up. The other thing, just going back to fine grants, the way there's really two things fine does. Our primary mission is to maintain intercoastal waterway in partnership with the Corps. Our secondary mission, which is to make sure we can help local governments improve and maintain public access to the waterway. And where that came from was in the early 80s, the Florida legislature, which created our district, just like they created you guys, said, hey, what's the point of maintaining the waterway that people can't get to? So that's how FINE was directed to come up with this grant program to help local governments, improve boat ramps, build fishing piers, do whatever we could to improve the public access. And so the way the grant program works is it's an annual program, and basically there's a deadline for local governments to submit grant applications, and that deadline is April 1st. So like Mr. Pickett here was talking to you about a FINE grant, what happens is he has to get a local match from either the city or a partner like yourself, and have that in place so that he can submit that application by the deadline. I've been talking to the county about projects that they may have they want to submit a FINE grant for. But at any rate, that's the way the FINE grant program works. Is you submit an application, the FINE staff basically reviews the application, make sure it meets our criteria, and then in June there's a 2-day hearing of the FINE board, and we actually score all the applications from the 12 counties, and based on how they score, it determines whether they get funded or not. And typically, the last several years, we've budgeted about $12 to $13 million for this program. That's money that is for the whole 12 counties. Now, there's also a formula that allocates that distribution to each county based on the amount of tax revenue that comes from that county. And it works out that basically St. Johns County is eligible. But when I say St. Johns County, I mean the county, the city, government entities within the county are eligible for, we can spend up to $600,000 in grant funding for this county every year. So what I'm trying to do as your FINE commissioner, and there's one for each county, is to make sure that we have projects in the works that are submitted so that we have a shot at getting our share of that $12–13 million, which can't go over $600,000. So that's one reason I'm here today, is to kind of make sure that process is in the works, because to me, the worst thing you can do is leave money on the table, because this money is your tax dollars that have been paid by the taxpayers. I mean, if you look on your real estate tax bill, you'll see the Florida Inland Navigation District. So to me, it's important that we don't miss out on that opportunity to bring some of that money home and spend it on boat ramps, or spend it on whatever public access to the waterway, kayak ramps, you name it. Where we are right now, this year, and what I know the city is, you just discussed it, they're coming in for a grant application for $150,000 for Salt Run. As far as that, anything else from the city, I'm not aware of anything else from the city at this point. As far as the county, I've spoken to the county, they just left, didn't they? Okay. I thought that they were going to maybe talk with us about a fine grant for Doug Crane, but apparently from what I heard, maybe they're gonna go in a different direction. But at any rate, that's the way our grant program works. You know, if you guys have any ideas, we've done grants directly to the port in the past.
Can I ask you a question? I want to make sure I have it right. There's a bunch of money out there, and if we don't have the projects lined up and approved, we won't be able to access the matching grant.
Well, the key is, if you don't have an application in our office,
By
April 1st, and actually I always tell people March 31st, because it needs to be there. If it's not in there, you miss out on that fiscal year opportunity.
So this is also, we just asked if the city of St. Augustine were to ask you to extend that grant that you offered to help them with the kayak launch.
Now, once a grant, what happens is the way the process works is a grant application goes in. The deadline is April 1st. Then in June of that year, is a member of that agency, in the case of the city, it's usually Mr. Pickett, one of his folks, will go down and do a short presentation on that grant application. And then the fine commissioners will get the score. And based on how a project scores, determines whether it's funded or not. And we make that determination in September when we do our budget. You guys will be doing a budget in September for yourselves. We make a determination of whether it gets funded or not. If it gets funded, then you basically do that project in the next fiscal year, which starts that October of, in this case, 2019. Now, if for some reason the local government can't do the project or delayed for some reason, they can't ask for an extension. Yeah. And
that's what we could do on the kayak grant, because the city didn't use that this year. So instead of losing the fine part of that grant, we can ask you for extension.
You can ask an extension up to 3 years. There's a cap on it. And I, off the top of my head, I can't remember how long ago we got that. But we did, because we had so many hurricanes, we also had some special situations where we worked with people on extensions because of the impact of the hurricanes, because we haven't had any in our month. So, but anyway, I just want to kind of, especially you guys that are new, give you a little, and feel free to give me a call. I'll be happy to meet with you and show you some applications and show you what they look like. But this board's been very, actually been critical for providing local match funding for projects in the city and in the county. I can tell you, you guys know better than I, but there's a lot of good projects that wouldn't have been built without this board. So.
And that's federal money from federal tax dollars?
No, now our money's fine. Fine money is on your real estate tax bill.
So even the fine money comes from?
It comes, it's from the taxpayers in the 12 counties on the east coast of Florida.
When you do the ranking, when you're looking at all the particular projects, what gets more bonus points? I mean, where would new boat ramp fall?
Boat ramps rank pretty high. The salt run dredging has ranked very high, but dredging of channels that lead, like the San Sebastian River channel, channels that serve working waterfronts, public access facilities like boat ramps and stuff, they score very high.
What typically gets the boot?
Well, what gives the boot would be, actually what happens is you get down, especially in South Florida, and their opportunity for building new facilities is very limited. So we may have someone come in with a kayak launch that's way to the west of the waterway that it's hard to imagine somebody ever, really getting paddleboard and making their way all the way to the waterway. So, and also, we do have the ability to help you buy a new site. I think up to 25% of the cost. Mr. Flowers mentioned finding new locations for boat ramps, and so that is a potential source of funding is combined for up to 25% of the cost of the land.
How about this, Mr. Blow? Right there at May Street, at the May Street Bridge, there's publicly owned property already. People have already turned it into a boat ramp. This is on the east side of the May Street Bridge. If you go by, you'll see all the mud and hard mud. People go, they take the overflow if you can get in there. For less than $1,000, Mr. Hersey will bring over several truckloads of rock or heavy coquina sand. I've done this myself. And you've got a non-motorized boat ramp that could hold quite a bit. Right there, we already own it.
One of the big challenges to doing anything as far as increasing the size of the boat ramp or building a new boat ramp is the environmental permitting process.
So if they're already using this as a boat ramp, I'm not talking about, I said a non-motorized, you bring it in on top of the car or in the back of the truck, kayak, canoe, whatever. And the nice thing about that creek is they don't have to put their kayaks and stuff in with that awful current and the big boats over at the main Lucina ramp. So it's right very close. And again, I'm not sure what we have to do because it's already being used. We're talking about adding sand so people aren't getting cut, getting MRSA, and we've gotten several cases of those already from being cut in our water. And it cost us almost nothing.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not the expert on that area. I'm going to defer that to Taylor Engineering and let them maybe shed some light on the challenges of the environmental permitting of doing anything in the water. I can tell you right now, I hope to get a grant application from the county to basically build a rural ramp in Palm Valley, which is outside your district. But they're running into environmental permitting issues up there, so that they're not in a position to even move forward at this time. So
for something simple that, we just still have to do the whole procedure.
Yeah, here again, I'm going to defer to the experts on that.
I can't imagine that because it was being used as a ramp that would have any impact at all on the permitting agencies.
Here again, I'm going to defer to
Just go ahead.
And I'm not sure about May Street anyway. I'm not talking about the choke point. That May Street is just.
Well, again, people are already using it because they can't go anywhere else. And really, that creek shouldn't be for, it's so small, I mean, I guess you could make it something under 10 horsepower. I know the people that live in there get off on that anyway, but it would just be something, maybe we could check it out and see how that is.
Well, thank you. Like I say, feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Thank you.
I'll be short compared to Lieutenant Tukowski. Josh Underwood, St. Augustine County Sheriff's Office, bringing in just some statistics from last court meeting to today. We had 177 hours on the water, 65 calls for service, 19 vessel inspections, 12 marine enforcement warnings, 6 citations. Derelict vessel update, we had the derelict vessel in the Port District in Moultrie Creek. It was the houseboat. I ended up walking a warrant through on the owner of the houseboat because he failed to comply with the derelict regulations. He made an agreement with Judge Tinlin and the state attorney to get the boat back in compliance. When I checked on the boat yesterday, the boat is back floating, current registration, and back in compliance with state waters. So sometimes that's all it takes. But that boat is no longer a derelict, so it will pop up on your derelict paperwork to pay to be removed. We did 14 marine sanitation device inspections. We also did a detail during that month. with Customs, Coast Guard, and NOAA Fisheries, where 4 shrimp boats were issued civil federal citations for operating offshore without their AIS functioning. So those citations run $8 grand a piece. So I'm pretty sure the shrimp boats will be running with their AIS now. We also participated in our bi-monthly Coast Guard helicopter training, where we're training with the Coast Guard, the swimmer coming in with a basket, putting the basket on our boat. That way they don't have to wait 45 minutes for the Coast Guard boat to get down here in St. Augustine. And that's all I got. Unless you guys got questions for me.
I just have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What's that AIS device? What's that?
Automatic identification system.
Okay, it's a vessel tracking system.
On those 14 head checks you did, how did those come out?
Perfect.
Everybody was
in compliance.
Do you happen to check south of the 312 bridge down there?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody was compliant?
They've been not compliant many times in the past.
Because there's no pump out service that goes to them as much. They may have legal equipment, but they're not moving their boats to pump out. So what do you think is happening?
So the way they're getting around it,
Right.
they know how to game the system.
I
They're
know.
getting the MSDs that do the composters. What is it? Composted.
You know,
That's how they're getting away with it.
the thing about a compost head is it doesn't need a macerator pump.
Correct.
And I've seen them over and over again. So if your compost head is plugged into a macerator pump, you're pumping out.
Correct.
And
And how we check them too is we check the valves to make sure that the Y valve's secure or if it's off.
Locked, isn't it supposed to be locked?
Right, or
Yeah.
wire tied.
Yeah, okay.
And then we actually take a tablet and they have to flush it, and then if it comes outside the boat, they're sided flush.
Right.
So, and the boats down there, they get the tablet and they don't come out.
So if they have an existing compost head, there's, all you can do is see that it's there and make sure it doesn't actually have a,
Macerator.
yeah, that's great.
Are these the boats that are at South, they're by the crane? Is that
Yeah.
where they are?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any sense of whether these improvements that the county's talking about at the crane are gonna, because it's kind of turning, am I right in thinking it's kind of turning into a bit of a health and safety issue down there?
So-
That sort of pirate community.
You've seen no crane, right, and no crane is a lot of transient boaters that don't leave.
Right.
And a lot of them, if you remember back when the mooring fields weren't here, when the mooring fields
They
came.
just went all down there.
Correct. We brought up a couple suggestions before to the board about maybe the county looking at creating a mooring field or some type of situation down there to make it where we don't have constant.
You know, the thing about it, if we had a pump out boat, the city's pump out boat won't serve Anchorage Inn, it won't serve up the creek, where I'm at Hospital Creek, it just will only serve in the city limits, it will serve the mooring balls, and if you're at Anchor in the city limits, there's a lot of boats out there. And what's going on south of 312, I lived on a boat for 14 and a half years. Very few people with compost heads are using them correctly. Matter of fact, down there was a man with a wooden boat in the marsh with a duck farm in the marsh. You remember this? You couldn't have got to his boat.
Correct, I know it's what
To get to, you know, it's like, and he stayed there forever. It's infested with sewage.
Yeah, correct. And we also bring the Coast Guard down here a couple times a month, and they check the boats down there with us. So,
Yeah,
but they know how to game the
if you
system.
turn that into a mooring field, they'll just move somewhere else.
Correct.
I mean, there's groups of boaters that aren't gonna pay.
And that area gets enforced a lot. So that area too, being that it's not a state recognized mooring field, they get cited all the time for no anchor lights. And what we're running into with the no anchor lights is they'll pay them. And if you talk to these people, because you go back to them and write them another citation, they feel that it's a rent. They would rather just pay for it as rent.
I know in marathons, they were able to stop the polluting, or this is what I'm told, that if you're living on your boat and the pump out boat doesn't see you for over a week, the FWC does. So I don't know what we can do, but I feel like we have to do something, even if it's some kind of general pump out boat that covers more area.
Right. And I can get with the Coast Guard guys too to see if there's anything else that we can do down there.
You know how many are down there now?
Well, there's 14 And now only 11 of them have people residing in them.
And lots of sunken ones?
The sunken ones, right, FWC's dove the sunken ones, they can give you an update on those. But the sunken ones, most of them are tagged with buoys.
When they put the mooring field in on the bayfront, and the day they did it, there were 20 boats on my side of the bay, all the way up. They just moved over.
Closer to you? Right.
Well, a lot of reason for that, and there's a lot of people who wanted to get on the mooring balls. But the problem is, if you get online and go get insurance, the $300,000 that the city asked for, and you identify yourself as a liveaboard, you cannot get it. So you're in a catch-22. Many people, coming from Australia and all over the countries, they need a certain amount of insurance. They get here, they call it progressive. Do you live on the boat? Yep, sorry. So, it's a catch-22. The city would see a lot of those boats come to the mooring balls if they do something where they could just have tow insurance. Because to tell you the truth, having the insurance on those balls hasn't paid off for us that I can ever tell. The fact that they have insurance doesn't seem to matter when things go wrong, except for their own boat. We haven't recovered any money, it's a great idea, but if a lot of great international traveling boats cannot get what's, so that's a part of it, is they can't meet that even when they try or are willing to pay the money. And that would be great.
Thank you guys.
Good afternoon, Chris Passetti, Operations Chief, St. Augustine Fire Department. Just to give you an update on our numbers, we had 11 calls, emergency calls for service, 10 other calls which would be assisting other agencies, checking on congregation needs, things like that, water samples throughout the area. We participated in the ELO ops with FWC, the Sheriff's Office, ourselves, and the Coast Guard Force Department, and a few other training exercises that we continually do normally on Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays we go out to do afternoon and night operations. So just stay part of the fishing. So if you guys need anything, please let us know. Any questions? I try to keep it shorter than the long first one, guys.
You're up.
Lieutenant Steve Zukowski, Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, Patrol Supervisor for Coastal Flag and St. Johns Counties, and with me today, I have Officer Bill Miller, who's going to give some of the briefing because I know you all, except for 2 new commissioners, but welcome by the way. My cranky Yankee voice wears on people after a while, so I've got a little bit person here to give us some updates. Starting off on boating and waterways, might as well get to the DV update first off. We have nothing really new on our end of it. In the future, you're going to see Officer Josh Greener, Officer Specialist Josh Greener up here with me, because that is one of his duties now. He's on leave right now, so he's not here to speak to it. But that's just a little administrative function. In terms of what we've got going, and I don't know if Carl Blood knows about this. Have you been contacted by University of Florida down at Greenland about getting funds to remove that cat boat on the west side of the ICW? Okay.
I talked to them yesterday.
Okay, well, that's what I was going to talk about. That's what Corporal will give you.
They're funding it themselves.
They are?
Yes.
Okay, so that was going to be an update. One of the derelict vessels we've had is a large cat hull sailboat that's northeast of Marineland that's been pushed back into the salt marsh because of 2 years of hurricanes. And that was on the list that we were going to provide to the city to have it removed. However, I spoke with people at the University of Florida who've taken that project amongst themselves to remove it. They were going to ask for some fine funding, but as Corporal Underwood just said, that they're going to fund it themselves. So they've taken it upon themselves to remove that, because it's got some connection, I suppose, with the research they're doing, or maybe part of the National Estuarine Research Reserve. So they're going to remove that boat, so that's going to be one less thing that the port's going to have to fund. So that's gonna be one down, and we'll let you know, we're gonna remove that from the DV database as soon as we confirm that. So that's really about the only thing new with derelict vessels. The the new buoys that are going to mark the boating regulatory zones underneath the 3 bridges, we're still waiting for them to be deployed. They're supposed to be coming, but everything's been pushed back with Hurricane Michael deploying, things like that. But they should be here soon. Have you heard anything from them? No.
The only holdup is the Army Corps of Engineers permit.
Okay. Same. So we're in the same place we were last month. We got the upcoming Christmas boat parades next month. We're going to have Regatta Lights on the 8th. I've got Palm Coast, which doesn't affect us here. It's down 15th, and I think Palm Valley is December 1st. So we'll be out there with boats and all of those. Coast Guard Secretary Jackson personnel will be down here for Regatta Lights. They'll be on our boats, just assisting security on their own boats. So we'll have 2 boats for Regatta Lights, and I know the Sheriff's Office will be out there. How many boats are you going to have? 1 or 2? Okay. And then the fire rescue boats will be out there also. Boating accidents that we've had since the last board meeting. We had one recently over the weekend. We're at 22-foot center console vessel, two gentlemen fishing pretty much underneath the Milano Bridge. We had a cabin cruiser trying to enter Comanche Cove, but evidently with the heavy outgoing tide, they were not able to maneuver that well. The captain got turned around, basically trying to get out quickly, and ensnared the anchor line of the 22-foot boat. And during the process of trying to disengage from that, one of the people in the 22-foot boat fell overboard, but they were quickly rescued. And there isn't any damage to anybody or anything, but we're working that right now because we have to find out exactly why that might happen. If no one's claiming mechanical issues, but that's a boating accident when someone falls out of the boat. As you can imagine, it could have been a lot worse, but fortunately, between the accidents of the people on the small boat and the large boat, they were able to disengage, and nothing worse happened. The boats didn't collide. We also had a boating accident up in Palm Valley a couple weeks ago. Officer Miller's involved in that. We had a cabin cruiser that was transiting north to south, and it happens probably a couple times a year. Some of the trees on the DDOT property, this was a palm tree, wasn't it? Some sort of,
about 15 feet long.
It was a large log. It was in the middle of just below the water line, in the middle of the channel. The gentleman hits it. He had a true drainboard boat, and damaged his rudder, pushed it right up into the base of the hull, and breached the hull, started taking on water. Fortunately, he was able to make his way to the Palm Valley boat ramp, where they got some commercial assistance to get it on a trailer. So that was a boating accident. No one was hurt, and also Officer Miller and Officer Kurt Harris was able to get up there. They were able to basically lasso a large tree and brought it down. We secured it just south of on the shoreline, just south of the Palm Valley boat ramp. That's one of those hazards that happens 2 or 3 times a year. It's just unfortunate that it does. Smaller boat would probably just hit it and skip over it, but on a larger boat that's not a planing hull boat, but a displaceable hull boat, that's what happens. And these are heavy, large water-soaked logs, so it's just unfortunate, one of those things. And that's it from what I remember from boating accidents last period. Let's see. Our boat lift back at the municipal marina, that's operational again. Officer Miller has our fairly new 28-foot Baltimore 850 boat there, which now we've properly got it propped properly, so performance is a lot better. We're just waiting for another component to truly complete it, but is back at the lift now. It's doing well. Our lift is back operational over there. So that boat will be there, and the boat that used to be on that lift was our 25-foot original inflatable. That's now going to be over to Comanche with one of our other boats. So we'll eventually have 2 boats at Municipal Marina and 2 boats at Comanche. And I say eventually, we're in the process of trying to swap one of our boats for another boat with FWC down in Tampa, based upon requirements that we have to do. So that's it for boating and waterways update. I can move on to fisheries update. So with that, why don't you tell them about your oyster case? You got it.
As you guys know, this time of year, oyster fishing is prevalent around here. So we have 88, which is down south, Devil's Elbow, harvest areas, and we have 9202, which is Salt Run, and then north Guana River and other areas up by north of the airport. But recently, I wrote a case of a commercial harvester leaving the area with untagged oysters. So it's important for public safety for them to tag the oysters prior to leaving in order for us to know what area they came from, if it's close to harvest due to rainfall or other public health concerns. So that was that case. He fled the area and we caught up with him and cited him. He's on plane in Salt Run, so he also got a boating citation for the slow speed zone after he had some choice words with me. So that was him. And fisheries wise, the Guana Dam has been very, very active.
Yeah, what's going on, and just to finish up on this oyster case, Corporal Leonard was with my boat that day, along with no enforcement officer Ben Boots. Shellfish is, if you're harvesting shellfish from an area that's closed, it could be, it's not only a fisheries violation, a resource violation, but as everybody here probably knows, it could be a health issue. People can die from anaphylactic shock from shellfish, so, or people have other shellfish allergies. So it's also a public safety issue. So that's one reason why the oysters have to be tagged properly when they're submitted to wholesale dealers for eventual consumption or sale to the public. So in case there are any health issues, they can trace them back to somebody. And when the tags aren't proper, and the bushels aren't properly documented, that's an issue. Because if we get bad oysters, we don't know where they're from, or who to hold accountable, or whose licenses may be revoked or suspended, or such and such. Guana Dam, particularly with the change of weather we've had recently, I don't know if everyone here knows about this, but up at the Guana Dam structure, currently it's prohibited public access. There's an orange snow fence around it while they're completing repairs to the dam water control structure. That's also a very productive fishing area when the weather changes, particularly when we have drops in the barometer and cold weather comes in. There's a redfish bite goes on, a black drum bite, whatever, and people, particularly people from Jacksonville, seem to come down here and want to poach. And it's mostly non-locals want to do it. So for the past 4 or 5 weeks, people they've been unauthorized entry past the snow fence. That's violation number 1. Number 2, they're fishing on the dam spillway and they're cast netting within 50 yards of the dam. That's violation number 2. And then number 3 is they're keeping finfish in the Guana Wildlife Management Area. The dam, you can only harvest shrimp with a cast net. So those are some of the violations. Other violations that officers, and this is happening almost nightly, and officers, not just on my squad, the Lieutenant Scott Jack squad, have been going up there, they've been very diligent. We've also had people that are harvesting, believe it or not, undersized snook, undersized redfish, spotted sea trout. It's a regular smorgasbord up there. We've come across people, they've got multiple 5-gallon buckets of croaker. Now, croaker are unregulated. There's no size or bag limit to them. I should say up to 100 pounds recreationally. And they're filling 5-gallon buckets with bait fish, essentially sized croaker. So basically, that's the nursery for croaker up there. We're aware of it. The officers have done a good job addressing it. We have gotten to the point where we are also temporarily, at least, seizing cast nets or things like that and placing it to evidence until their case is disposed of. Then we'll return it to them, because unfortunately, it's kind of like what Corporal Underwood talked about, with people paying rent for citation. Some people just look at citation as a cost of doing business, as opposed, they don't get the whole ethical fisherman or ethical boater part of it. They don't. And so sometimes you have to go another extreme. And we don't like to hard time people, but sometimes you have to get people's attention. and go a different way. But the officers have done a good job up there on this, and it's starting to slow down a little bit. But it's really, you know, if you're a fisherman, to see that many people keep small fish like that, there's no need. Well, I shouldn't say there's no need, but it affects all of us down the road. With that being said, moving on, spotted sea trout catches, because the weather's getting cooler, are starting to really show up well. I was out on water patrol, I think it was last week, with Officer Megan Thomas, and we probably inspected about 20 boats between here and down Baines Landing and Flagler. We saw multiple boats with some nice sea trout catches, and the sea trout were fat also, which means they're feeding on either finger mullet or spot or maybe mud minnows, killifish. And they were legal size. The sea trout look good. Sheep's head's picking up now inshore because it's getting colder also. Redfish overall is strong, still going strong. The Kansas Inlet is slowing down. Typically the late summer, fall run that you see of the bait fish going in and out of the inlet, particularly silver mullet, which turns the redfish bite on and other fish, that's pretty much slowed down now. So that's dwindling down. And I think that's it. Offshore, don't really have anything to report on offshore. We haven't checked on offshore boats in a while. I just haven't been out there. We've had officers just getting back from deployment at Panhandle up there as a result of Hurricane Michael. So we've had multiple officers from the crew go, and we're just rounding back down to a full squad. So with that being said, we'll probably have some more offshore news next month for you. So that's all I have. If there are any questions or comments or suggestions for us. Okay, all right, thank you much.
Thank you. Anybody else want to go? Public comment. This is where everybody from the public can come and talk when they have some questions or anything. Nobody? Okay. Comments by commissioners. This is where the commissioners, if they have anything to say. Let's start off with Sandy.
Okay. I have two things. One is I'd very much like to be able to contact you guys by email. So I've been subject to sunshine law since I was elected. I have not heard anything from our council. I need a official port email, and I'd like to ask everybody to have official port email because I'm not comfortable sending an email to the personal email account. And everybody here has
email each other.
Honey, your email on the port website is your personal email account. I can't, yes sir it is.
Well, I know that.
Okay, so you're doing port business with your personal email.
Okay.
I need to
I've got a
send.
solution. On my email, every bit of email I get from anything to do with the port, I have a category that says port emails, and it goes there. And anytime Elise or anybody else needs my email, I can pull them all up.
It all goes to me. Public business in your own personal email account, and that's really not good. Even if you see you're not forwarding, what you're supposed to do is forward her a copy right away of all your emails. I cannot use your personal email. I would really like to be able to contact the board like that.
You can't contact the board though.
Okay, if I cannot.
You can only contact through me. You can only contact through me, and then I send it to the board. Yes, ma'am.
Can I get an email, a professional email attached to the port server? Because I don't want anything stored on my personal email account. I can't believe, honestly, we're still doing it. The next thing I'd like to ask is this. I was elected because a lot of people think you guys are not doing things very well in many respects. And one example I'd like to offer of that is this. It took me a long time to get this, but I just received 10 or 12 invoices from the Comcast. I'm going to have an anxiety attack over this. We paid $20,982.92 to the Comcast for a year of pump-out service that they only performed 3 times, and I'm willing to give them one that maybe I missed it. This is recorded in my captain's log, which is a legal document. They never came again because the weather kicked up. They came a couple times in July, a couple times in August, and they continued to build this port for performing pump-out services for the city, Anchorage, and they did not come. I have multiple witnesses to this, not just my captain's log, which I recorded every pump-out I've ever done, and I've been here 14 years. So that's $20,000. I don't mind paying them for the first 3 or 4. I know it was 2,000 whatever, but this is just like all of a sudden it's 30 and then it's 70. The public is telling me we don't understand that. And it's like our records. Could I go on record? Could somebody go on record and give me an address? I know now it's the Lightning Museum. That's not telling me where the records are.
There's a port office in the Lightner Museum, and if you need to get in, either I have a key to get in, or Mr. Piggott will let you in.
Okay.
So you have.
The custodian of the records has got to be able to.
I have the key, but I also am contracted out. I'm not an employee of the port. We are contracted out. I have a key. So if there's a specific time that you want to go.
The specific time is not to be, it's supposed to be any time in business. I can walk into an office and somebody's there, I go knock, knock. I'd like to get the record.
Hold on.
Let me say something. The port's office, the office that you go into is the accountant's office.
Okay, that's where I went last time.
Okay.
That's where I went last time, and I could not locate records.
Let me finish. You went to the right place. So if you want to go during business hours, that's where you have to go. The office, the room that is in the city hall is full of records. That's all.
Are they stored against fire and flood like they're supposed to be?
Oh, yeah, it's on the third floor in the
There's a
building.
lot of requirements for every agency. Do you have permanent, do you have archived records, or you told me it's 2010?
Oh, no, they're all there.
Okay.
And we don't have to keep, I don't have to keep records going back that far. I only need 5
No, I
years.
realize there's a schedule for when you can restore records, absolutely, but things like projects, just like people asking us for $70,000, the reason that we need the documentation, the paperwork, everything, how much does a game plan cost, is so that we can store that, and later on, when people say, what do we spend the $70,000, now we know. But if some things have to be stored permanently.
Well, they are.
Particularly about
Nothing has been
projects.
destroyed.
Nothing.
I've had a terrible time, so, in other words, I cannot walk into an office yet and expect to inspect those records without making an appointment.
Correct.
Okay, I believe that is incorrect and illegal. This is a state agency.
No, it isn't.
Okay, can we write a letter to the state attorney? Because I'm telling
We
you,
can
this
write
is
a letter
real bad.
to the Attorney General if you want me to.
I would really like to know if this is, because the public is supposed to be able to walk in to the court office and say, I'd like to sit down and inspect the records, and they cannot do that.
Yes, they can, but you make an appointment with us.
See, the state does not require that. They say at any reasonable hour. Making an appointment with someone is not a reasonable hour.
Yeah, sure it is.
I disagree as a commissioner. Okay, now what I would like to know is what are we gonna do about the $20,982.92 that we paid for 3 or 4 pump outs?
I think that was probably 10 years ago.
It was in 2007 and 8.
And it was an experiment that we had tried at one time that we thought was going to go over well, but it didn't go over well, and we canceled it.
I understand you canceled it, but he can't bill them without doing the.
He's not getting paid for it, didn't bill probably since 2011?
2008.
2008.
Sir, I'm not saying that he's doing it now, I'm saying this is one example of how money has been accounted for on this board.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to interrupt you just a minute. I'm going to get to Milano Beach, take a boy to a soccer game by 5:15, so I'm going to have to excuse myself. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving before I depart.
Thank you.
Tom.
So again, Mr. Chairman, he billed us and did not perform what he said.
I'll only be there till noon tomorrow.
The coffee house is still
You'll only
there,
be there when-
Mr. Hamlin is still
You
running,
sign?
and I don't understand why this
But
board
these other
is just
people,
going to let it
I
go.
will email this to you. I'll email this to you.
Okay, because I have to take it to the.
Sir, I was there, sir, I was right
You
there,
did this
and
today.
that's fine, if you want to
And my
stop it, you
driver's
stop it when he
license.
stops running the
And
boat.
these
Don't
other
stop,
things
he
I
doesn't
can wait
get to
to do
bill us
after
for
you,
something
after the
he really
holiday.
did not
Okay, do you want me to notarize tomorrow?
What time are you leaving?
I'm leaving at noon.
I'm not sure if I can make it by then. Are you going to work Friday?
No, I'm not gonna be back till Thursday, the following Thursday, because I have to go to a seminar in Nevada, so I won't be back. Okay, okay, okay.
concerned about because the seven will get the sewage out of our water.
You're talking about something that's 10 years old, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. We can have a discussion on something that's 10 years old.
I'll give you something a lot newer.
Is that, you want anything else?
Yes, sir. Okay. other than email. So now, am I gonna be able to get a report of St. Augustine email so that I can, ethically and legally?
Yes, I'm going to call the person in charge of our website and have them set up a Sandy Flowers at staugustineport.com.
Thank you very much. And again, I would like to request as a commissioner that the rest of the commissioners on this board do that right away.
Well, that's the commission, that's not me.
It's my opinion, but I'm not the only one looking at this, please. And y'all really need to think of all the things going on in politics. You think it's okay to use your personal emails? What have they said on those personal emails? Let's give you an example. When the pilot program came up for a vote in this office, everybody sat down and voted on the most controversial program that's ever happened to the city of Port. They never said one word. I remember Jay Bliss saying, don't y'all want to talk about it? Nope. How is it? Nobody needed to talk about that. They talked about it somewhere. Because when you come in and you sit on the board and you vote for something like that, without any discussion, where was it being discussed?
I actually think the pilot program worked out very well. Again, that's something that's probably 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago.
It's just an example, so I'm going through everything. That's what my people want me to do. The public wants to know why they can't get into water and $70,000 can go up in the air like that. That is all.
Next. Mr. Wright.
I have no further comments, no, sir.
Okay. No, okay. Then the next meeting is December the
18th.
Nothing else? We're adjourned.
Barry, I need your signature on some things. You want to text it to me? No, did you fill out the paperwork for the bank? No, absolutely not. Okay, I need you to sign all these things because Jim needs to sign them too. It's the interlocal agreement.
We got a problem. Hang on. Thank you. Tell me what to sign. Just this? Just this?
Wherever it says your name, but there's 3 copies.
Okay.
I'm going to give you 3 copies, Barry.
I need some signatures as well. This is adjusting our $45,000 contract the board approved last summer. We had Taylor Engineer paid that much out of pocket for daily turbulence monitoring, so this is just increasing that 45 to that. Just need one signature there. Okay, this is the board $50,000 grant from the state for the Sanitation administration project. The board already approved Turnbull to spend that. So we're actually only doing $415 right now, just to give us some slack in case some other unanticipated stuff pops up. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Elise, we have email addresses, right?
I'm gonna need Cora's social security number and some information, a joint social security number, because we're gonna be getting paid and they're gonna get a 1099.
Sure.
So I'm gonna need all that information to send to the IRS.
Great.
So,
Elise, there's that, and I texted you my front and back of my driver's
no,
license.
you didn't. You texted my phone?
Yes. Is that what you wanted to do?
Oh shit, you didn't see that, but it's not on my phone.
No, let me get there. Let me see if you checked your number. Oh, I'm sorry.
My last thing I wrote was last Gary Which number do you have?
797.
No, that's my office.
Okay, where are you at?
501 904.
Okay, wait.
I'm giving you my personal phone number.
Okay, you like it so far?
Everything I hope to have been along.
Good.
904.
Okay, let me get the other one on here. That's message in it. To 904.
501 3112.
3112. Coming your way.
It's interesting. Yeah, these are interesting issues. I was a beach lifeguard here for 2 years, so I have a little bit of a public safety background. I do, I'm not an attorney, but I do mostly public policy work. But a lot of it's related to, like, port along for county projects.
What was that thing about common good?
So common good, that's the NGO that I work for.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that,
So we're a public policy not-for-profit that focuses mostly just on sort of regulatory quality, generally. We're nonpartisan, but we operate in a variety of different issue areas. But most recently, I've been doing a lot of work related to infrastructure and permitting. And we've worked a lot actually with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey on infrastructure.
those are very large.
They're very large ports, sure. The issues there's not a huge amount of overlap, but there is still the Army Corps is working down here just like they're working in